Hello traders, hope you're doing well. I'm making this video to give a brief introduction on Auto Harmonic Patterns V2 script which I released today. Explain how to use it and different input parameters available and what are the features it has and everything. And all the information I'm going to share today are also available on the description of the script. And I highly suggest that everyone should go through it before using the script. Big thanks to CryptoArk, who has been helping me a lot throughout this development of the script. I would say he shares equal credits for the development of this whole script. Also, thanks to all the Pine Coders community who have been sharing open source scripts and traders who have been encouraging me with their comments and feedbacks, which is helping me become a better trader and better coder. Before diving deep into the script, let me make some disclaimers. All my previous scripts on harmonic patterns were open source, but decided not to release this as open source, mainly because this is like ownership of the script is shared between myself and the talk. And this is not this script should not be considered as a buy and sell signal as such, rather than should be used as a scanner for your trades. Yeah, it shows stop, entry, and target levels and other things, but these are not these are not optimized. And you can change it in the settings. If you have a trading plan, probably you can set the entry level, stop level, a target level according to your trading plan. There are different options available in the input parameters. You can just you make use of that, or just feel free to do trial and error, find which parameters work best for you. It will show that the child like closed trade stats will show you which parameter will perform better over the other. So you'd also see what is the risk reward ratio and other things. Consider all these things and make your own identify the suitable parameters for your trades and use it with caution. And this script is very much memory and processor intensive script. So you see that there are like 8 zigzags running at a time, and each zigzags will go through multiple iterations to identify a pattern. So so that's going to take a lot of time, right? Especially there's high chances of timeout, script timing out, especially in lower time frames. I'm running this on 1 hour at this point of time. It looks okay, but I've seen the script timing out a few times. If that happens, if it's running okay, suddenly times out and gives a red exclamation here, one thing you can do is just disable and enable it. It will replot the things again. And if you don't want to use all these different zigzag lengths, for example, if you want to trade only the higher numbers or lower numbers, just use only them and disable the rest of them. So you don't need to make use of all the 8 zigzags. Just trade what you want to trade. Yeah, it will also help the execution of script and make it faster and more reliable, give less errors probably. Okay, and yeah, the scripts do not show historical patterns. So if you load the script on a chart and if you don't see any patterns visible, if you don't see any targets or stops, don't be panic. It's just the way how the script works. So as and when the like trade ends, like this will be stored. For example, this is still in trade. It's reached target 3 and failed to reach target 4, but it's still in trade. So the stop is here until you reach the stop. It will still be in trade. In case if it reaches the stop, this pattern will be removed from the screen. These targets will be removed from the screen. This entry of open trade will be removed from the screen, and this will be moved to a closed trade here. Okay. So if there is no pattern, that means that no tradable pattern available at this point of time. That's all. Okay. With this, let's deep dive into the script input parameters and learn a bit more about them. Okay, so there are different section of parameters. To start with, targets and stops. This is easy to understand. The entry ratio, stop ratio. For example, if this is a pattern formed. We form a base based on what is the highest level of the pattern and point D. So in this case, it's AD is the base. If C is higher than A, then CD will become the base. So this is the base line for this pattern to do any other calculations of entry or stop or targets. Now, entry ratio 0.236 means that enter a trade only if the price retraced by 23.6% from D. So otherwise, do not enter into the trade. And also stop. Stops are not really retracement, it's extension, so that's why it's negative. So it means that place a stop at 5% extension from AD. So it's like 5% of AD plus minus AD here. So that's the point of stop, 2.54 at this point. And similarly, other things like target 1, 2, 3, 4 are calculated as well. You can set target 1, 2, 3, 4 as per what you want. Like, and I've only made the fib numbers available here so that these are mainly used for targets and stops. And yeah, that's you can set all these parameters on according to your trading plan. And trailing start stage. So there's a different options available: entry, target 1, target 2, target 3, target 4, and disabled. It just means that when to start the trailing. So when you start a trade here, it will set the initial stop here, but it will not trail as and when the price go up, or price move in the direction of your trade. So it will start trailing only after you reach the trailing start stage. For example, trade 1 is the trailing start stage. So it will start trailing after this. So how much it will trail? So trailing will depend on this width. For example, if it reaches target 1 and start to go up, it will trail by the difference of target 1 and entry. And then if it goes to target 2, and I hit this target 2, then trailing will become this much will be the trailing. So it will start trailing by this amount of, this much price difference. And similarly, when it hits 3, the difference becomes this. And then when it hits trail 4, difference becomes this. So you can set whatever target 1, 2, 3, 4 are, and you can also control this trailing limit in that way. Right, so that's about targets and stops. And pattern detection settings. So error percent just means that some of the constraints for some of the patterns are pretty exact. So for example, Gartley has to be 0.38 or something, exact 0.38 ratio of AB's XAB retraction. So those things are like difficult to get exact ratios of retraction, and also we just need to allow some retraction. You just need to allow some error threshold to make it happen. For example, it's like XAB is 0.382 plus or minus 5%, 8%, something like that. Okay, the next parameter is max depth. Max depth, this is nothing but number of iterations done on each zigzag. For example, if this is a zigzag, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, something like that. So it will look at all 11 patterns back from here, and we'll see all permutation combinations. Like for example, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This is one combination. I'll do this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Is this one combination? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another combination. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Another combination. Something like this. So it will check all the permutation combinations, and will look for a pattern, all the patterns among all these permutation combinations. So if you increase this, there are chances of finding more patterns, but this also means that the script will become slower, right? Even the error percent, if you reduce error percent, the chances of getting patterns will reduce, but it will be more accurate. If you increase the error percent, chances of getting patterns is much higher, but they will not be, they'll be less accurate, right? And going to the next parameter, the wait for confirmation. This is one of the important parameter, which even in my previous scripts, this has been asked by many, that patterns only form after the price goes up by certain distance. Why is that? So this is mainly because the patterns are calculated only based on the confirmed zigzag pivots. So when the price reach here, we don't know if that price is going to go up or down. So it's not a confirmed pivot yet. So hence, the patterns will not form at this point of time. It will only form after the price goes up a bit. So that this is a confirmed pivot now. So that these pattern is confirmed pattern, so it will show it as there's a pattern here, the price has already moved up here. So this happens quite often. I'd like to trade the patterns which are already confirmed. That's why I kept it this way as by default. But if you want to highlight when the patterns as soon as the patterns are formed, and without worrying about whether it's going to go down or go up or anything, you want to just know when it's formed, you can just uncheck this option. Okay. Um, and ignore if entry crossed. Okay, this is another important parameter which you can use along with wait for confirmation. So if wait for confirmation is unchecked, this doesn't mean anything. You don't need to worry about this. If wait for confirmation is checked, it will see when the pattern is formed. For example, if the pattern is formed after when price goes here, you can see that entry is just here and price is below the entry, so it will take it as okay, we are still the entry point is yet to be reached, so this pattern is formed, so it will go ahead with the pattern. So for example, let's say if the pattern is formed after price goes till here, so that means it's already gone too far from the entry, it's already near to target one or beyond target one, then there is no point of entering this trade because the risk reward is pretty less. So in that case, you can tell the script to ignore such kind of patterns as well. You just need to see only what you need to trade, so you can ignore the rest, right? And okay, that's all about pattern detection settings. And that's all. And let's go to stats and display. This is fairly simple. So there are two types of stats we show. There's the closed trade stats and open trade stats. So you can choose to show which one you want to see on the screen. Open, close, or both, or none. So I like to keep only the open trades and only want to see the closed trades to see that how my settings has performed in the past. Otherwise, no, it's better to keep just open so that it will save some screen space for you. And you can also see set where you want to keep both the tables. Open stats, trades and stats is right in the bottom right at this point of time. You can set it to bottom left, top right, as anything. If you set both of them to a single position, it will overlap and only one of them is visible, or it will be partially visible. But it's better to set in a different positions if you're using both. Yeah. And going to the next ones, these three things are pretty easy. Show targets, if you uncheck, it will not show these targets. Show XABCD, if you uncheck this, it will not show this XABCD markings. Last one is show ratios. If you uncheck this, it will not show these ratios, right? And going to the next part, zigzags. As I mentioned, there are 8 different zigzags. One is like, these L1 zigzags are called base zigzags. It's nothing but just the plain zigzags. For example, 3 means this is a 3 zigzag based on 3 depth. And this is a zigzag based on 5 depth, 8, and 13. And what are L2 zigzags? L2 zigzags are the zigzags built on top of L1 zigzags. For example, this is demonstrated in multi-level zigzag script here. So there's the same logic being used here to derive the L2 zigzags as well. You can probably go through the script to understand this better. And I'll not be spending much time in this video to explain this. Okay, so that's about zigzags, different zigzags. You can enable and disable any of them. You can set different colors to each of them. And yeah, that's and that's all about the zigzag lens and different patterns, classic patterns and anti-patterns. So again, thanks to Talk for giving me helping me with lots of materials to understand all these patterns. I have also given in the link I'll link to a Google Sheet which contains plenty of patterns. We have not implemented everything. We have only implemented what is important. We'll scan through and we'll keep an eye, and probably if we get time, we'll keep adding more patterns to this as well. And finally, the generic colors, bullish color and bearish color, you can select if you want. The text color I just added because I'm using dark theme, so that a white color makes sense. If somebody is using white strings or light theme, they can just change this color to suit their theme. And yeah, that's it. And this is about the input parameters, and you already know rest of the things. Probably one more thing I want to explain is the stats tables. The open stats tables, it will show what zigzag length the um, current pattern is. And you can see that it all matches the color. You see that the color of the text here is same as color of text here, and which is same as the color which we give here, right? And the background color says that whether it's a bullish trade or bearish trade. So this is a bullish trade, so the background is green. If there's a bearish trade, the background will be red on this. Okay, and as you mentioned, the ones like okay, contents of this table are like status. Right now it reached target 3, but it has failed to reach target 4, but still in trade. So it's still in trade. XABCD coordinates here, which is shown here, and different entries and targets here. Entry I stop is initial stop, T stop is trailing stop, then each target 1, 2, 3, 4. So once this is hit, it will go back to this will be removed. All these things will be removed, and this entry will go to 13.2 because this is 13.2 zigzag. 2 defines it's a multi-level zigzag, or if it's 13, just 13, it's a simple zigzag. /2 means 13 zigzag. On top of that, there's a 2 depth multi-level zigzag. So 13.2, and it will go to if it stops here, only this count will increase. Target 3 will increase. It will not increase target 2, target 1, or stop or anything else. It just means that number of patterns which reach till target 3 are this, without which touched target 3 and went back on this. And similarly for target 4, it will only show the patterns which reached till target 4 and then stopped, or went beyond target 4 as well. And if it reaches target 4, we'll not add a count here. We'll add only the count here, as I mentioned. Okay, and the close trade stats, we keep track of number of bullish patterns found, bearish patterns formed, and different zigzag lengths. For example, okay, I'll not disable this because it's going to take time. If we disable 3 by 2, if there are no patterns detected here, these rows will not be shown in this table. And a bit of description on these states. Overridden means, let's say the pattern formed here, X, A, B, C, D, a pattern formed here, but before going to the entry, another pattern formed here. So that means that the previous pattern will be removed and will be made as overridden. And failed patterns are nothing but patterns which are formed but failed to make entry, and it just went to the stop. So those are called as failed patterns. So these two patterns are not really a losses. These two patterns are the ones which we didn't enter trade. The ones which are resulted in losses are stopped ones, because these are the ones which went to entry but failed to reach target 1 and went back to the stop. As we know, other other ones are simple, which are like the patterns which reach each target once. That's all. Thanks very much.